Sentient being, Citizen of Gotham, Tuesday, June 9, 2015. Thanks for stopping by and tuning in. Activist post 10 ways to use JADE HELM 15 against the New World Order. It's been said in times of great deceit, truth is revolutionary. Here we are in 2015, and now that martial law practice drills or urban warfare exercise have begun, let's all think for a minute and consider where the lies and deceit surrounding JADE HELM begins. First, it all starts with the names they use in substitution for the scary, more realistic, and understood martial law. They instead use phrases like urban warfare, military training exercise, call it whatever you would. It's the same thing. It's illegal practice for martial law, which is when the military forces take on the role of law enforcement. That is a violation of posse comitatus. If you don't know, look it up. Then there has been the motto they've chosen, master the human domain. Really, is there anyone who thinks this operation is about defending freedom, helping humanity, anything good? The motto says it all. The intention is to conquer, to control, to defeat, and overcome human beings. Warning to all. Then there's the supposed meaning of acronym associated with JADE HELM, Joint Assistance for Development and Execution, Homeland Eradication of Local Militants. Whether this is true meaning or the acronym or of this acronym, or it only shows how the JADE HELM psyop is already in effect. On top of that, look no further than Wikipedia's already shockingly characterizing the real live JADE HELM operation as JADE HELM conspiracy theory. So even as the treasonous participants set off explosions on U.S. soil, rocking people's houses, the exercises are still a conspiracy theory. This gets at the underbelly of the JADE HELM psyop. It goes like this. We're coming for you. We'll set off ordnance and practice killing and surrounding you up. But if you identify what we're doing, you are conspiracy theorists for jumping into any conclusions or thinking you know what we're doing. Very good point. Is there still anyone out there that doesn't think conspiracy theorist is the most overused phrase in America? That Wikipedia is already pounding away at the conspiracy theory. PSYOP is only a clear attempt to hold on to the sheep that are still asleep in hopes of preventing mass awakening. What we are seeing every day now is real-time effort by the globalist control system at doing everything they can to prevent mass awakening. Unfortunately for the globalists, their brainless CIA, their dying mainstream media, and the New World Order, humanity is irreversibly catching on to what it is doing. And the faster they move, the faster people are waking up. So let's push the awakening even more by doing whatever little things we can do to accelerate the waking in light of the JADE HELM 15 operation. As in the martial arts, one must find a way to use the enemy's strength against him, so let's consider 10 ways that we can use JADE HELM 15 against the very globalists and their drive for New World Order. New tangible reason to discourage young men and women from joining the military. Well, as I said, no one should really be joining the military. Most people do it because they need money, and they buy into the malarkey that pushes the military. Other people join it because they're nationalists or statists, which people think is a good thing. Just look at any other country we look at, right? We all think they're crazy and fanatical if they're a statist or nationalist. Why? Because they are. When you're a statist or nationalist, you're fanatical. Fanatical, you have insular paradigms, and you're discriminatory by nature. So, because you look at other things, other people, other countries as less than, and that's a subject versus object paradigm. That is a Satanist paradigm. Not saying people are Satanists for that, but it's still, nonetheless, regardless of what people want to say, it's a Satanistic paradigm. It's subject versus object, black or white, good or bad, right or wrong, you versus them. Just like Bush used to say, you're either with us or against us. That's a Satanist expression. Period. If that's too hard for people to digest, well, that's your own thing for not being able to digest it. And if you listen to exactly what I said, you'll know that I'm not categorizing anyone or saying you're a Satanist to follow, being a statist or nationalist. I'm saying it's a tenet of Satanism. So there's a bit of a difference. Are you someone who always tries to talk to innocent teenagers out of joining the military, find it hard to convince them not to join? Well, with JADE HELM 15 already underway in Flint, Michigan, now you can show the videos of the outraged local residents, let them hear the car alarms going off, explain to them that the fear that residents are experiencing at the hands of oppressive army traitors who carry on with their mission without questioning the morality of it. That's what happens when you join the military. You become a mindless drone. You're told to do what you're told to do. You don't question orders, period. Very few do, and the few that do either disappear or get dishonorably discharged. So it's full of a bunch of mostly sociopaths that are, because they kill. They're psychopaths because they love the power, and then they're sociopaths because they actually go out and kill people. Any one of these military people that are going to come on American soil because they're following orders has issues. They're obviously a psychopath, and if they start murdering people, they become a sociopath. Show them that evil is brewing, paint the picture of soldiers potentially having to point guns at their own families and friends, then ask them if they are mentally ready for this kind of stuff, because this is where we are headed. Hopefully we will set off a bell or a fire or a fire inside their minds, you now have one more item in your arsenal to tear down the false image the young men and women have in this glamorous USA military. Again, that's a statist and nationalist paradigm. It's actually propaganda to brainwash people. Also, it'll be funny when these people do that when their own families have the same thing, or they're told to go arrest their moms or dads, or shoot them or execute them. That's when things will turn around, because then the people will be like, oh my god, what am I doing? Which is scary that they need that type of an extreme example to realize. That's like a kid who has to put his finger in the electric wall socket because you tell him, hey, don't do that, you're going to get electrocuted. And the kid's too stupid and has to do it. That's a very, slightly brain damaged. It's a very harsh lesson to learn, and there's a problem of being able to discern that, putting my hand in there, I'm going to get hurt, or seeing a fire and touching it, the adult just told me I'm going to burn my hand. I don't need to do that to realize that I can trust what the adult's saying. But most people are a little thick and have to learn things on a very harsh physical lesson, which only underscores how desensitized they are from their spirituality, that they can't discern things well without a physical lesson, which is not a very good thing, but what do I know? Make people aware of the purpose and function of a constitutional organized militia. JADE HELM 15 offers an opportunity to explain and discuss the concept of well-regulated militia. Most youngsters who enlist in the United States military today have no idea of what the original purpose of a well-regulated militia is, of course. According to the U.S. Constitution, it is the militia's job, not the military's job, to suppress insurrection. The military should operate correctly, meaning those in it, able bodies at approximately ages of 16 to 45 should be familiar and with how to shoot their proper weapons, etc. It's the function of the militia to defend the state and the individual rights of the public from big government. In other words, we are a republic, not a democracy, and that's why we have a militia, which is why we have the Second Amendment, which they're trampling all over and taking away from us, because you have to be able to fight tyranny or an oppression, which is from your own government. The militia was never intended to be controlled or to operate for this purpose of the federal government. Very true. All of this is far from the narrative we see today with the illegal use of the United States military to fulfill the duty of the National Guard and the militia. The incorrectly used and out-of-place JADE HELM operation is a great opportunity to raise the issue and expose the treason and lawlessness intertwined in it. And unfortunately, none of these people were brought up on treason, which they should. Most treasonous, I think, by law, is you're supposed to be executed, right? If you're treasonous, right? Not go to jail, you get executed, supposedly, from what I remember. 3. Make people aware of the history of martial law and tyranny. What's better time to reflect on history and the many previous attempts at martial law and tyranny by tyrants and oppressive empires of the past. Now it's a great time to show the world around you that it's the same old script playing out over and over again. Government gets too powerful. Government uses its military against people. Many died and are oppressed. Evil, corruption, oppression, and anguish abides. There's no versions of history where martial law and tyranny worked out for acquiring more freedom and liberty. That only happens in the false narrative being told by the CIA mainstream media, where JADE HELM is a harmless fun drill, and anyone questioning it is a conspiracy theorist. Remember, in the minds of today's CIA mainstream media, we are all free and everything is just fine. A bit shocking to think about at first, but sadly true. More reason to pressure politicians to step down if they don't stand for the wishes of the people. Well, they shouldn't be stand down, they should be taken out of power, which means the government should be completely abolished. But anyway, as we have seen in Texas, where Governor Greg Abbott took steps to announce the state National Guard will be watching the United States military, which doesn't mean anything. The event at least serves as a reminder that the state's sovereignty rules that the state have the ability to shut down JADE HELM. They do, but they will not. We saw earlier where the state of Colorado exercised its right to tell JADE HELM to get out, to get lost. This could be one of the biggest lesson reminders of JADE HELM 15. Let's remember that JADE HELM is taking place only in the states that have allowed it to happen. Keep that in mind. Challenge your state politicians, and let's use this against those politicians who said yes to JADE HELM. This is one more thing to hold the politicians accountable for. Bring about more awareness of state sovereignty. As stated above, JADE HELM is a great opportunity to make others aware that the state, not the federal government, repeat, not the federal government, has the ultimate power over what happens. The state is of the people, for the people, and by the people. So that's what they mean by the state, the republic, which is what we really are, which what we should be, but we're not. Sorry. Most people, especially in the United States, have no idea how this works. Unfortunately, too many Americans are clueless to the power structure and chain of command. That is done purposely by the brain damage indoctrinations of schools. Most Americans believe that what they see on TV, of course, because they're asleep. And Hollywood regularly portrays the federal government as the ultimate authority. This is entirely unconstitutional, and none of this illusion is based on reality. Very good statement. Just remember how in 2014 the state of Nevada and its sheriffs told the Bureau of Land Management, BLM, to get lost. JADE HELM is picking up where the Bundy Ranch standoff left off. Only it's the military this time trying to push their weight around multiple states in joint martial law operations. Let's use JADE HELM as a final and unequivocal reminder that the state and its National Guard have legal power over the federal government. Bring about more awareness of the New World Order. The New World Order has been spoken about by many presidents of the past. Many critically thinking Americans have long ago reconciled the reality of the New World Order. To many of us who are awakened to the globalist stated plans, the events of our times are not very surprising, and they all fit into how we understand the world. I don't know anyone aware of the New World Order plans who was shocked by JADE HELM. The challenge is to use this event as a way of reconfirming to others that the New World Order plans are very well underway. Just step back for a second and think to yourself, why are we even talking about martial law? What happened to America that somehow someone decided that we citizens deserve urban martial law drills practiced on our own backyard? Ask those you know who may still not be awake to think on their own for once. Remind them that the destruction and shutting down of America is central to the New World Order plans. This is destruction we are now all seeing. Opportunity to vindicate conspiracy theorists. Everyone who's been discussing, has been accused, of being a conspiracy theorist can now sit back and do the "I told you so." Of course, those whose cognitive dissonance is on high will still ignore the warnings, but don't worry too much about these people. Just go for those who still have some traces of common sense. Don't try too hard. Let them see for themselves the drills, explosions, the fears, the guns, the tanks, the firepower, and the military forcefulness being practiced. It all speaks for itself. Now is the time to vindicate conspiracy theorists who are warning of this stuff long ago when no one would listen. Remember, truth is realized. You don't have to go over the top and burn yourself out to prove this stuff to others. It's all unfolding on its own. Help wake up more people inside the military. This goes hand in hand with number 1 above. Along with using JADE HELM to prevent people from joining, this event can also be used to wake people up who are already inside the United States military. Let's remind the active military studies in line of fire that they are being used as tools for the globalists. Remind them that Pat Shulman's story, and remind them that like the SEAL Team 6, they could too potentially be disposed of by friendly fire if they don't comply with ongoing unlawful orders. Help spread the word when the military appeal to the consciousness of every active duty soldiers. The SEAL Team 6, I think, is referring to the Osama bin Laden team that supposedly killed him, which they didn't, and then they were about to come out, so they were murdered with their helicopter going down, and then there was a follow-up team that went to look for them, and they all got murdered, so it was like 12 or 15 of them were silenced because they were about to come out. Remind them that it's not just their lives at risk, but also their integrity, their morality, their humanity, and their consciousness at risk. Remind them that the lives is for keeps, and bringing the Middle East occupation violence home is an act of treason, stupidity, ignorance, and a lack of morality, and also psychopathic, sociopathic paradigms. Also remind them that we people are truly on their side, and we hope that when we are given unlawful orders, they will do the right thing. Remind them that there are more of them troops than there are corrupt commanders. Finally, remind them that if a commander gives an unlawful order, it is their duty and obligation to disobey those orders upon their swearing in. That act of disobeying an unlawful order is what America is really about, and it represents the spirit of truth, liberty, morality, freedom in the American way that our forefathers were willing to die for. In other words, JADE HELM can be a powerful tool to bring this message across to active duty soldiers. Well, that's the one good thing. If all these military kind of pulled their head out of their ass and went against the powers that be, the world could be a better place, because the citizens would rally behind them, and you'd have millions of people that would usurp, circumvent, and then extirpate, so to speak, this bullshit government and the powers that be. This could change everything, but I don't think it will, unfortunately. Refresh the military personnel memory on results of Nuremberg trials. No active duty soldiers who don't want to listen. Are they still defending the act of obeying unlawful orders? Hit them with some history and remind them that during the Nuremberg trials, Nazis who relied on the excuse that they were just following orders were sentenced to death. Well, yeah, per se, but most of them came over here and became scientists and headed NASA, so it didn't really work. So that's not a perfectly true statement. Now it is time to remind them, the active duty JADE HELM participants, that there is a historical record for execution for those who commit crimes against their own, as well as crimes against the people of nations. Remind them that active duty, that those who ignore these lessons of history were bound to repeat them. Like I said, treasonous is supposed to be dealt with by execution. Remind them that everyone comes out of the turmoil of bad times. Finally, as we see martial law urban drills become the norm in America this year, as we inch closer and closer to a real live martial law takeover of America, let's remember that things are coming to pass as we predicted by many of the U.S. truth seekers. Many of us have been predicting that things will first get much worse before they get better. That's why I just said things I don't think will change. I think too many people are going to die at first before people change things, which is great, but why do several million people have to die before something changes, or tens of millions of people? Shouldn't even be a few hundred. It is clear that JADE HELM 15 represents a time in America when things will and are getting much darker. Essentially, this is the darkness we've been waiting for. Things will factually get worse. Then, as a result of that oppression and anguish, I believe humanity will rise, as it has throughout history. I do too, but at the cost of millions of people, which is what's troubling me the most. Which is why I say they're not going to do anything. Because we won't. Originally, we will not do anything. And it will take, like I said, putting our hands in the fire. Ah, we burned half our hand up. Well, that's not smart. That's brain damage to me. It's too much conditioning. As we are seeing with JADE HELM, thanks to CIA mainstream media, once again, we have a segment of profoundly deceived Americans, which I was just mentioning, who are being brainwashed, which I just mentioned, and thinking martial law, urban drills, or military exercises is normal, okay, harmless, and uneventful. They are being trained to simply believe whatever CNN and the rest of the mainstream media says that the event is. This actively engineered ignorance is the source of our future suffering. Yes, it is. Yes, it is true. With what the blind sheep don't know really is killing people. Ignorance is now being used as a weapon of mass destruction. Very good point. And so it is clear to see that our fight is more directly against mass ignorance, which in turn is engineered by the control system. It is therefore the followers of orders that we should fear the most. They're the ones right now who are cooperating with JADE HELM 15. They loom in the background of our lives, blowing things up in distance exercises, and they are lurking inside the United States military, preparing to participate in JADE HELM drills as we speak. Our primary battle, thus, is the battles for the minds. Let's keep that mind moving forward. It's always good to know who your primary target is on a battlefield. For those of us who are awake, it's the ignorant sheep. It's excellent, very good writing. One thing is that they're going to be foreign military people, which is another problem that we're going to have. As parading around as military, United States military, which will make it easier for them to exterminate people because they're from a different country, therefore they don't care. Solution: so we can handle JADE HELM 15 in a skillful way to use the very operation against them. It may sound like a tall order, but you might be surprised to realize how easy this perspective idea is. Truth is, after all I've said, something you realize. Love is something you feel. Consciousness is something you experience. Morality is something you understand. And care for others is something you choose to practice after you put together all the information you have and develop an understanding of it. Let's show the world, the United States military, what their occupied minds cannot currently see. There comes the time to show it with action. This is where we all need to be today. Let's show the United States military that JADE HELM is wrong and it's precursor to something even worse, even more nefarious. Let's show that the JADE HELM is also a choice between love and fear, what is right versus what is wrong, building up versus tearing down, healing versus killing, and being true patriot versus being a criminal who follows orders. With JADE HELM in progress, let it show us, everyone, the choices they have, and then let them decide on their own what choices they will make. Again, very good article. Scary times what's going to happen, but very good article. I wish more people read this and actually acted upon it. Thanks for stopping by, tuning in, be well, stay balanced, namaste.